Hey, guess what? Everyone feels stupid. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Julia Johnson, and this episode, I don't really have a plan for it. I'm kind of going to treat it like a free therapy session and just kind of rant about things that have been going on in my life recently that I just haven't had a good outlet to talk about. So this is going to be that. So it's probably going to be a little all over the place. I'm going to try to keep coherent thoughts, but I make no promises. It might end up being a bunch of run-on sentences and sentence fragments, and you're gonna have to fill in the blanks yourself. But it's gonna be it's gonna be what it is, you know. Um, but I kind of wanted to just start with. So I had a doctor's appointment when I'm filming this. I had a doctor's appointment yesterday, and it was to see my gastroenterologist or like GI specialist, basically the guy that I go to about all my stomach issues. So I only experienced a minor amount of gaslighting this time because the last time I went to see him, I'm not saying that he isn't like a good doctor or a trained professional because he very obviously is and he clearly knows what he's talking about. But it was like mildly frustrating to go see him last time because the previous time I went to see him, I started having issues in March, right? And the I went to OSF Ergo and they were like, okay, we're going to give you a prescription, get on this medication. You should see relief in your symptoms after a couple weeks or whatever. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So I start taking this medication and I see no relief in symptoms. So me and my mom, we schedule a appointment with my primary care doctor, which mind you, the OSF Ergo people told me to follow up with my cardiologist, which like, yes, but no. Anyway, let's continue. So we follow up with my primary care doctor, like my pediatrician, and she's like, okay, let's try switching your meds and see if that works better for you because I was getting zero relief on the medication that I was on. So I switched my meds. I'm, which the meds I was on that I got switched to were technically over the counter, but I was taking them at a prescription strength. Cool, whatever, that's fine. Living my best life. Not really, but you know what I mean. These meds are helping me more. I'm still experiencing symptoms daily, right? So because of this, we contact my pediatrician again because she was the one that suggested the medication switch, and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna refer you to um, a gastroenterologist. That way, you can get more like specific help, right?" So we go there for my first appointment with this guy. He spends like he starts talking about how because at the time I'd only been on this second medication for 2 maybe 3 weeks, but you don't want to stay on medications like these for your whole life. You don't want to be on medication your whole life, which I will be, but whatever. So we're like, okay, sure. He's like, so in a couple like he was like, come back in. I think it was like 2 months or whatever for my initial appointment. I was supposed to come back for my second one. And a couple weeks before I come back for my appointment, my second appointment that I had yesterday, I was supposed to wean myself off of the medication entirely. So go taking it every other day and then once every 3 days and then stop taking it. So I did that. Mind you, the 2 weeks that I'm doing that are band camp. So that's wonderful. But essentially he was like, while you're weaning yourself off this medicine, watch and see if symptoms come back. So my symptoms were never gone in the first place. So I don't really know how they're supposed to come back. But essentially the way I explained it to him yesterday was I had symptoms the entire time I was on the medication, and getting off of the medication just made them more intense. So yeah, wonderful, right? Completely wonderful experience. But, you know, but at my first appointment with him, he was telling me that, if that my symptoms might not be actual, like there might not be a clear cause for them, because a lot of people with these symptoms will have like a stomach ulcer or those sorts of things. And while that might be the case, it also might be the case that because I have POTS, that it's really just a nervous system issue, and that the nerves in my stomach might be more sensitive, and that is what's causing me all of the pain. Basically saying, I'm not telling you you're faking, but I'm saying there's no way to prove you're not. Essentially, was what he was saying. So I was like, okay, that's wonderful. But okay, so I did my follow up appointment. I am off the medication. I've been off the medication. The last time I took it was Wednesday, the like 29th or something. I think it was. That was the last day I took the medication. So I go into my appointment, and essentially I explained to him that I had symptoms the entire time I was on the medication, and that my symptoms have just gotten worse being off the medication. And he was like, okay. So he scheduled me for an endoscopy in 3 weeks, and I have to be off the medication the entire time because otherwise it'll mess up the results. So I'm 3 more weeks of the strongest thing I can take is Tums and anti-nausea medication. And that is the only thing I can do to manage my symptoms. That is the only thing I can do to manage my symptoms. And like, I hate the pain scale, but I'm going to use it to try and like give you an idea. So I would say that when I wake up, the pain in my stomach is like a 2 out of 10. A 2 out of 10. Like, it's not that bad. I eat literally anything. Literally anything. And at minimum, the pain is going to a 5. Minimum. And usually it gets closer to like a 7 after I eat anything. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be the spiciest food on the planet, but it could also be plain white rice. Any food upsets my stomach. Like, I don't even know how to go on from there. Like, it's just like I can't eat anything without feeling deeply uncomfortable and sick. But, we thug it out. We thug it out. So I will be off the medication for 3 more weeks, and then I'll have my first surgery. So get hype. I think it's going to be on September 2nd. It's a Wednesday, I think. Yeah. So can't wait. It's fine. Like, it's a very safe procedure, and I will be fine. But it's just a little frustrating because me and my mom both walked into the first appointment with my GI doctor and thought that was what was going to happen. We were going to get scheduled for that, but no. And honestly, I've been doing my own research based off my symptoms. My mom is kind of convinced of what the GI doctor originally said, that it is an issue with my nerves and my nervous system, and then that is causing increased and like more intense sensitivity in my stomach and causing pain and that sort of stuff because of that, which like is a genuine condition. But also, one of the things that I've really struggled with describing it in a way that actually makes sense to other people, but the easiest way I can explain it is it feels like food just kind of sits there. Like, it feels like it gets to my stomach and then it just waits around. And so like, it's really kind of frustrating because like, normal digestion, the majority of your food, like probably somewhere around like 70% of your food moves into your like the intestine, in the next one in the line of digestion will move into that one within like an hour. And I can feel food sitting in there from like hours previous, like 2 hours, 3 hours before. Like I feel like I can feel it. And I don't know if it is just increased nerve sensitivity and that's why I think I'm feeling food, or if it genuinely is my food is just sitting there. And like if you've never I don't know anyone else that can like say that they've felt that. So it's kind of hard for me to be like, is this something I'm actually feeling? Is this just something that I'm imagining? Like I don't know. But it's wonderful, it's wonderful. Um I don't know. And along with being off the medication, I had been following a diet that's supposed to help reduce like acid reflux symptoms and essentially anything like I was avoiding eating anything that could trigger acid reflux or make a stomach ulcer worse. But honestly, if I'm going to be in pain after every single thing I eat, I'm honestly not going to worry about it and just eat the stuff I want to eat anyway because after every single meal, I am bloated and uncomfortable for several hours. Like, I would say, like I was describing earlier, my pain going up to like a 5 or a 7, like but that pain doesn't, it's not like oh, it hurts for like 20 minutes and then it goes away. No, it's for hours. Like, it is easily for 3 to 4 hours after every single meal. My pain is that intense and then will slowly lower its way back down to my baseline, which is like a 2. So for hours on end, I'm in immense pain. And there's basically nothing that I can do about it. And like, and when I'm eating too, like, I take 3 bites of food and I feel full, but I can like look at it and I can see that's not enough food to support a person. And so I'll force myself to eat regular sized portions and I will feel 100 times worse. But I know that I need to eat enough to actually be able to sustain my body and all of the activities and things that I want to do. Like during band camp, I was feeling ill while I was eating, but I knew I had just spent a whole morning outside and I was gonna go out and do more stuff in the afternoon, and I needed to be able to eat and support myself through that. And so I would force myself to eat at least a somewhat normal sized portion. Mind you, it was still probably half of or 3/4 of what everyone else was eating, but I was forcing myself to eat more because you know what? I needed fuel. I needed something to keep me going. And it was so miserable the whole time. And I'm going to be miserable for at minimum 3 more weeks until my surgery, and then I'm not supposed to get results until like 2 weeks after that. And I'm going to guess that they're probably not going to want to put me back on the medication after my surgery because it, I mean, like, it was managing my symptoms, but it still wasn't solving them. So it's, probably not the root cause, but it's just frustrating. And I kind of didn't plan to talk about this for like 15 minutes, but I still have more to say, so I'm just going to keep yapping. But it's so tiring and like I feel horrible all the time. And it makes me really like irritated with everyone around me because, like someone will try and goof around and I just feel ill. Like I like, if I, how do I explain this? It's really hard to want to be, I want to be happy and I want to joke around and I want to have fun with my friends, but every single moment of it, I also know that I am in pain and I feel horrible. And honestly, the only thing I want to do is curl in a ball on the floor and cry. And so it's really hard to want to do anything like I want to do things. I want to have fun with my friends. I want to go out. I want to do activities. I want to play games and go to movies and all that stuff. But like I could be following every single doctor's orders to the T, perfectly taking care of my body, and I can still wake up and feel horrible. Even with, doing all of the stuff that I'm supposed to, I can still wake up and feel horrible. And I never wake up, excited for the day. I wake up in pain and still tired. And it's just really, it's really hard. And I don't want to make it sound like I never enjoy things, because I do, and I very much so, like, I appreciate my friends, and I appreciate the way they check up on me and make sure that there's, ways for me to participate even when I'm not feeling well, and I truly do love them for that. But it's really tiring to be surrounded by people that I feel like I'm holding back. Because I feel like everyone in my life, like, not just my friends, my family too, like, they knew me when I was little. They knew me as a fun-loving, outgoing, very involved kid. And then I got sick, and it sometimes feels like they look at me and they're waiting for me to get better and do all the things I used to, and I never will. I'm like, even when I have a day where I have very minimal symptoms, I'm still sick. Like, even on the days when I can do more, I'm still sick. I'm still sick, and I'm always going to be sick. And I see this a lot in my interactions with my mom, where I know that she's doing it because she loves me, but she'll do research, and she'll be like, most people that have POTS, once they get their diagnosis, they usually feel better in like 3 years, or like, and all that stuff. But she's looking at studies of people that got it from things like having COVID or stuff like that, where it's like, and you can get POTS from just about anything. Like, any like infection that your body goes through can lead you to develop POTS, or any other issue with your nervous system for that matter. But like, I am going to be sick for the rest of my life. Even if my symptoms are less intense, it's not suddenly going to go away. It's still going to be here. I'm still going to be sick. I'm still going to have to be managing symptoms for the rest of my life. And it's I'm never going to be that me again. Like, I'm always going to be sick, and there's not much I can do about it, you know? And so it's very hard to enjoy things, and I try my best to, on the days where I am feeling well, to go out and do things and talk to people. And, when I can, I go out on walks, or I try and exercise, and I do all those things because it's supposed to help me in the long run, and I get that, and I want to be healthier for as long as I can. But it's also, like, it's really scary, because I'll go on social media and I'll see other people with the same conditions that I have, and they're a lot of the times they started out like I did, where they got diagnosed in their teens, and, like, like, they were not well, but they were managing. And then as they get older, their symptoms have progressed to the point where, like, with like the hypermolar Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, they need a wheelchair because their joints just dislocate all the time, and it's kind of terrifying to see that and know that could be me, even if it never will be, even if I will never be that sick. It's terrifying to think that I could be. And I know that that's definitely, like, I definitely know that part of this is internalized ableism and not healthy, and I get that, and I'm trying to work through that. But it's terrifying to know that I will be sick, and while I might be one of the lucky ones that gets better, there's also a big chance that I will be one of the unfortunate ones that just continues to get worse as I get older. And I don't know, I don't really know how to cope with that, you know? Because I said it in the last episode, like getting diagnosed is simultaneously both like the most rewarding thing and the most terrifying thing. Like when I get my results from my endoscopy, because they're also going to be taking biopsies of like my stomach and stuff to test if there's like food intolerances and those sorts of things. Like, what if I find out that I just can't tolerate food? You know, like every food makes me feel horrible. So what if I find out that my stomach just can't tolerate it and it can't do anything? What if that's what I find out? Because that's like that's life changing. And while that can open up doors for better treatment and the doctors have a better idea what's going on, that's also terrifying because that's such a like life changing thing, you know? I don't know. I feel like I'm not explaining this well anymore. I feel like I'm just saying words. And I don't really know if any of this makes sense to anybody. But at this point, I kind of want to pivot and start talking about something else that's been frustrating me, which is still like on topic, but it's a little different. I want to complain about work a little bit. So, obviously, with getting off my meds, I've been having more pain and feeling worse and whatever. And there's a trend I've noticed where anytime I walk into a shift and I very clearly am not feeling well, like I will look like I'm not feeling well, all of a sudden, every man on the shift is tired and hungry and doesn't want to be there and, you know, all these things. And it's a little weird, you know, how suddenly magically I'm not feeling well, so everyone else in the building isn't. Nothing I have is contagious, people. You can't get a single thing I have. I guarantee you of that. So, why are we all suddenly tired and hungry as soon as I walk in? Because I walked into my shift the other day and genuinely, like, I had 3 shifts back to back days, and every single day I walked in and I felt worse than the day before. So, you know, and my managers obviously pick up on that because, like, I'm not trying to hide that I don't feel well. Like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to, like, scream at the customers and be like, guys, guess what? I feel sick. But, like, if you look for more than 3 seconds, you can tell that I'm not having the time of my life. So, you know, like, I'm not going out of my way to declare that, but it's not that hidden. But I will walk in, and I was working a 4 to 10. Another guy there was also working a 4 to 10. I walk in clearly not feeling well, and suddenly, 30 minutes into his shift, he's complaining about how he's so hungry and he just feels horrible and all of this stuff, and he's carrying on for hours. Mind you, I said something to the managers about not feeling well when I walked in, and then if they asked me about it. I did not go out of my way to complain to anybody about how I was feeling. I mean, I didn't go out of my way to hide it, but I did not intentionally say, oh, I'm feeling sick to everyone there and declare that everyone need to pay attention to me because of it. But this guy, he just keeps talking about how he's so hungry and how he's so tired and he doesn't feel well and blah, 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 blah. I'm sure you are tired. I'm sure you are hungry because you're a teenage boy. But when you're talking about how you haven't eaten all day, mind you, it's like 7 p.m. at this point, how you haven't eaten all day and how you need to go on break as soon as possible because you're just so hungry and you're like starving and blah, 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 blah. And I don't know, I'm not trying to say that I call BS on that. But when your shift started at 4 p.m. and you knew you were working a 4 to 10, Your shift started at 4 p.m. You're telling me you couldn't have woken up 2 hours earlier and had a quick little snack or something? Like, I don't know what his day looked like before he came to work. I don't know. But I am calling a little bit of BS that you couldn't have found some time to eat something. Like one of my managers that was there, he was supposed to be working like a nine to 7 or something. That sounds about right. But he was also saying he hadn't eaten all day. But you know what he wasn't doing? Complaining to everybody else. He was like, yeah, I haven't eaten all day too. Cool, bud. Like he was essentially just like, and I understand when you aren't feeling your best at work that you want to complain about that, because there's definitely times where I've been in the past, like I'll eat something on my break and then I'll feel horrible because I ate food, and I'll say something about it. And like it's logical it's natural to want to share how you're feeling. And I'm not trying to say that no one else is allowed to feel sick, or no one else is allowed to feel tired, or no one else is allowed to be upset while at work, because that's not the truth. But when you see me come in, clearly not feeling well, clearly feeling ill, and then you decide to spend your entire shift talking about how horrible you feel and how tired you are. And I've seen this with multiple coworkers, not just him. He was just one of the ones that like happened most recently, and I'm just like, what's your deal, man? You know? But whatever. Like I've seen this with lots of people. But when you intentionally go out of your way to like complain about it when you know someone else isn't feeling well, like that just seems a little odd to me. Suit me. I don't know. It just seems odd. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I really wanted to complain about. I think this episode indirectly became about just being chronically ill, which like was not my intention. I think I like going into this, I had more ideas that I wanted to rant about that were not related to being sick. And I'm trying to think of those, but I honestly don't remember. I don't know. I think I was going to talk about my um French horn lessons and stuff, because I've been taking lessons over the summer, and since I've been taking lessons with the same teacher since my freshman year, um, and it's at the point where um, he knows me very well. I spent my first like 2 years of lessons with him just like crying in every single lesson because I was so like disappointed in myself all the time. And so he was telling me yesterday, because he was visiting a friend, and they were talking apparently about like the state of the world, which, you know what, he's like a 70-year-old man, makes sense. Um but they were like talking about stuff, and his friend was showing him like, it was a quote from, I think it was from Teddy Roosevelt. I think, I don't remember. He showed me this yesterday and I still don't remember. But I'll put the quote up on the screen for the visual viewers. I can't remember it off the top of my head, and I'm not looking it up. But it's it's a speech he gave essentially about like, the critic is not the one that counts, and like that whole point. And like the first paragraph is all about how um it is not like others that judging us that is what matters. And then the second paragraph is all about not how it is like through trying that you do well, and it is not like, it's not whether you succeed or fail that matters, but it is whether you attempted it at all that matters, essentially. I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember a single line from the actual quote for like word for word. But like he was telling me that like his friend showed him that from a book, and he saw it and he thought of me. And like, I understand why he thought of me reading the quote, because like it is very me. But also, Dr. V, You do not need to call me out like that. It like you're fine to not call me out like that as well. Like you don't have to do all that, but I don't know. It's just like it made me feel very seen and like understood because he's talked to me in I don't know how many different lessons about how I need to be less harsh on myself and I need to just go for things and be forward thinking. Like every single lesson, he's used the metaphor of, you know, when you are driving a car and you hit a curb, do you spend your whole time thinking about the curb that you hit? No, you keep you focus back up on the road in front of you and you keep going and you don't, you know, stop. And he's used that metaphor I don't even know how many times now. And like it's just, you know, because I had my lesson yesterday as well, so it was, you know, doctor's appointment and then going to see Dr. V. And um, it was very it was very nice following up my doctor's appointment where I felt like I mean I definitely felt like this time at the doctor's that he understood what I was trying to say more. Like he understood like that my symptoms were still present and that I am still in pain all the time. But um it felt a lot like I felt like Dr. V actually like was listening to me from all my years of knowing him and talking through issues and stuff with him. Like it felt like a lot I felt a lot more seen and I really appreciated that. Um yeah, I don't know. I feel like this episode is going to be a little bit of a mess and a little bit all over. But I hope it's at least somewhat enjoyable. And yeah, I don't really have much more to talk about in that is going to be able to be a coherent thought at this point. I've just kind of rambled, and I think this episode is going to be a little weird to edit and stuff, but I hope it comes together at least somewhat intelligently and that I don't sound like a complete fool the whole time I'm talking. But yeah, um, oh, I forgot my whole everyone feels stupid segment. Guess we're throwing that in at the end. The entire point of the name of the show, just completely forgot about it. Let's see, what's made me feel stupid lately? Well, like during band camp, we learn all of the drill for our show, right? And there were so many times that I was so confident stepping stuff off, and then I'd go on the wrong side of the yard line. I don't know which one's side two and side one. Genuinely, I don't know which one is side two and side one. I have to use the picture every single time to tell which side is side two and side one because I like they change it every single year. I don't remember which one's which, and they always explain it at the start of the like year, and I never once remember, and I always go based off the picture. And then when I read the picture wrong, I go on the wrong side of the yard line, and then I get called out. But it's okay because I understand it to a certain level. It's like that one Tom Holland quote where he's like, I understand Spanish to a certain level. And then they start asking him questions and he has no clue what any of them are. That's me when it comes to reading drill. Like I can tell you what my coordinates mean, cannot tell you what they are, where they are. Like I can tell you like, oh, 4 steps outside, like I'm supposed to be further away from the 50. But on like which side is which, couldn't tell you. So I couldn't tell you where you are on the field, but I could tell you, you know, you're further away from the 50 and you're like 4 steps outside the line. So you should be in between 2 yard lines. Like I can tell you that bit. But yeah, I guess that's what makes me feel stupid when I'm trying to learn drill is I don't know which one's side two and side one. And so I just go on the wrong side of yard lines and stuff. I also definitely look at the numbers first and I don't look at the like inside versus outside. And so I'll like step it off and then realize I read inside versus outside wrong, which is also a little embarrassing. But yeah, I think that's where this episode is going to end up. So just remember, everyone feels stupid. Bye.